Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Kleber. How are you?
I'm great. What about you, Mr. Carlos?
I'm fine, thank you. Well, today we have our custom application series part two, and we are going to implement these three user stories: create a new app, create vehicles table, and create admin user group, right?
Perfect.
Okay, so I already have my PDI here. PDI stands for Personal Developer Instance. If you don't have one, you can grab one at developer.surfnow.com. Uh, After signing, you will see this button here, Start Building. Clicking on the button, it will open your PDI, which is a free instance. So this is the first screen. In this front page, you have links to Open Studio. And if you click Open Studio, it will launch this Studio integrated development environment. So our first user story is to create a new app. Let's take a look at the acceptance criteria. The story is create a scoped application to automate the auto insurance company core processes. Acceptance criteria. Version 1.0.0 exists and can be opened using Studio or App Engine Studio. Okay, so we are in Studio here. We can just click in the Create Application. This is a step-by-step process here to help us. It is basically to inform the application name. We can call it, for example, Auto Insurance. We can put a description if you want, and we can choose if it is a scoped application or a global application. This scope is an internal name that it is auto-generated, so don't worry about that. And we are going to create this as a scoped application. Uh, Kleber, have you heard about Docker?
I heard about Docker, but just to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly the details. Could you clarify? Could you elaborate,
No problem at
please?
all. Yeah. Uh, Docker is a technology when uh, a dev team develop everything inside a container. So, for example, the dev team develop the database infrastructure. They implement the backend, the front end, using whatever technology they want, and this is inside a container, like it's like a virtual machine. So to publish this in a web server or in a production instance, for example, you just need to move the container to that new machine. So and we can avoid a lot of problem regarding this, because since we develop everything within the same environment, the same container, we can make sure that database version is compatible, the programming language version and its packages is compatible, everything is working fine because the tests were good. So when we move everything as a container, uh, it will improve your software is more reliable, right? So this is the idea here. When we create a scoped application, we can generate a version and move the entire version from one instance to another. So this is the idea, right? Uh, so let's choose the scoped and click create. Here we could select a role. Let's create a role in a bit, but we have this link here on the bottom, which is continue in Studio and Advanced. Let's click here, continue in Studio Advanced. We already have here the auto insurance. 1.0.0 created. Let's
Created minutes ago, right? Like the auto insurance. Yeah.
yeah, just click inside over the name to open it. Yeah, it is opened. We can see at the bottom auto insurance application is opened. And talking about our Kanban framework here, and we can move this to done because we already created the application. And now we are going to create vehicles table. Let's take a look here. So our user story is, as an auto insurance app administrator, I want to be able to maintain the vehicles table so that the only valid car models can be provided within the proposal records. The acceptance criteria is the vehicle table is created and it contains the fields ID, which will be auto number, active, this field will be a Boolean, true or false, and name, a string with the maximum of 100 bytes or 100 characters. Okay. So let's start this user story. So as we are going to work on that one,
Like in progress, this one, right?
exactly, we can set that one as in progress. So let's do it. To create any component within the studio, we click here, create application file. And then we have a list of components here. We can create like every ServiceNow component using the studio. So the first one that we see here is a table, because most of the time we start with in the data model. But before creating a table, let's type here role and then click create. We will talk about what does it mean to create a role in a bit. We can call it, for example, TB vehicle. Yeah, when we type the suffix, it uses
And a table vehicle.
TB vehicle. Yeah, this will be our role name because it uses the scope name, which is our application name, and then the component name dot the component name, which is the role name. So if we submit this, yeah, we have our role created here, and we can close it this. And now let's create our table. Table, click create. Okay, our label will be vehicle. The name is auto-populated. We don't want to extend any table. Let's uncheck the create module. And here we have three tabs. We have columns, which will be the fields that we are going to create. We have controls, and we have application access. In the controls tab, we have one thing here called auto number. This checkbox will create that ID column for us. Kleber, remember that we talked about that on primary key can be incremented one by one automatically?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are saying that we are creating our primary key here. So it will start with VEH. We can select something different here, for example, car. Yeah. And then it will start with these three letters, and it will have 7 digits, and it will start with 1000. So the first record we will insert will be like car 000 1000, right? And talking about the access controls, we need to inform the whole here. Let's use that one we just created, which is called TB, TB vehicle. That's the one we want. Let's submit. Okay, we already have our table here, so it is called vehicle. ServiceNow automatically creates a couple of fields here. They are just used for internal purposes. For example, every time someone updates a record, it automatically stores the date and time, who created the record within this field created by. So these are common fields here that will be stored for every record. But the first field we want to create is called active. Remember that we have we'll have an active that will be a Boolean, true or false. So let's click new. The field type will be a Boolean. Yeah, it is. We have a true false here. It is called the true false, the field type. The name will be active. The internal name is always lowercase, so it automatically uses the name you input here. So active lowercase, okay. And that's it. Let's submit. Okay, so we can click here and refresh the list. So we already have the vehicle ID, which is this number here that we just created. And we have the second field. It will be this active of type true or false. The third one is the name, the vehicle name. So let's create it. It will be a string. So the type will be a string. Yeah. The column label will be a name. And the max length is 100. Okay, submit. Let's refresh the list here. So we have number, active, true or false, and name, string. Okay, sounds good. We can select the table name here. And if we go back to our ServiceNow instance, and if you navigate here to the all applications, we have a filter here. If you paste your table name here and you complete with dot list and press enter, let's see what happens. Yeah, you already have our table here, number, name, and active. We can change the order here if you want, for example, number, active, and then the name. We can use this gear icon here, and we can select active, up arrow to move up, and then OK. And yeah, now we have number, active, and name. We can click new to insert a new record. So for example, this one will be active, and the vehicle will be Kleber. Think about a vehicle name here. Help me, please.
Mazda.
Mazda. Great.
I don't remember the details, but I think it's the brand name, but whatever. Like,
it's good, no problem. Yeah. So we have our record created here. It is working. So we can say then, let's just confirm the acceptance criteria. The vehicle table is created and it contains the fields ID, auto number, activity, true or false, in name, string. Okay, we are good with that one. So it's done. Whoops, create vehicles table, done. Okay. And then our last task is to create a admin user group. Let's see our user story. As an auto insurance app administrator, I want to have a user group to be responsible for the vehicle's table maintenance, so that when I add a user to that user group, the user becomes a vehicle's table administrator. As acceptance criteria, when I add a user to the user group, the user is able to create, read, update, and delete vehicles records. Okay. So let's grab this user story and put it in progress. And let's go. When we are talking about user groups, it is one of the things that are not inside our application, right? So there are a few things that are not inside our application when we are talking about user groups and users. They are outside our application because remember, our application is a container, and so it has some limits. We are talking about, when we are talking about user groups, we are talking about in a global scope. Because when we create a user group, it is available to everybody. So to create this, we need to go to our instance, and then we can click all, and then you can type groups, and you can see under the user administration, we have groups. Yeah. Okay, let's create a new group by clicking this new button here. The group name can be, for example, auto insurance vehicle admin, something like that. Okay, submit. We have the group here. And when we create a user group, we need to define their roles. Now we are going to understand the meaning when we created a role at first place. So let's grab the whole name here. We can copy. Let's go back to our group. Within the roles tab selected, let's click edit. This will show every role within the system. We can paste it here. Yeah, we can select it. Right arrow to add to our group, and then save. So what we did here, Kleber, it means that every time we don't have any group members here, right? The group is empty, but
Empty, yeah.
Every time we put a user inside that group, this user will automatically inherit the roles that this group contains, right? So let's go back. Let's take a step back here. Let's take
any person you add in this group, automatically we will add this role you just added, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's take a step back to understand what this role is capable of. For example, if we select our table, we have these controls, and we have the user role here, right? And we have, scrolling down, we have access control. So we have 4 access controls. One is for read, the second one for write a record, which is update a record, delete a record, and create a record. And all of these operations, like read a record, update a record, delete a record, and create a record, if you click, let's say for example, to create a record, let's open this access control. You see that we have these conditions, and under conditions we have a role, and this is the role that we just created at the beginning of this video. So what does it mean? It means that every user within ServiceNow that has this role will be able to create a record within our table, right? Okay, so to see this working, we can put a user inside that group. But before that, let's do a quick enhancement here. For example, when we are in our instance, we can see, for example, inside system security, we have user and groups, and we click it on groups to open the group tables so that we could create a group, right? When we see user and groups, we are talking about an application menu. We call it application menu. So this is like an application name that we have in ServiceNow. But when we are talking about the functionality, or when we can, for example, insert records in a table or read the records within a table, we have these links here that are direct links to the component, to the table itself. So we call them modules. For example, these groups here, if we click here, it will redirect us to the group table. So it is a module. A cool thing that we can develop here, we can have an application name here for our auto insurance application, and we can have a module so that our group, our admin can access this module from here inside of typing the table name here, as we did before, right? So let's do that. Let's create, the first thing will be an application menu. Application menu, let's select here and click create. Let's call it auto insurance. This will be our application menu. Let's submit. And yes, it is shown here. You see, application menu, auto insurance. And inside this, we can have many modules. So let's create a new module. It will be called vehicles, vehicle table, or just vehicle. Let's vehicle maintenance, right? Vehicle maintenance. We can have an order here because we can have different modules within the application menu. And the visibility, we can define who will be able to see this module. So for example,
is this visibility associated with ACL?
Not yet. This visibility is associated, for example, here I can see, for example, user administration groups. I can see these module groups here in this application menu because I have a role called admin. Because since this is my personal instance, I'm an admin. But for example, we don't want anybody to see the vehicle stable maintenance, right? Only the person that we design, that we uh, classify as admins. So to control this visibility, we are talking this visibility here. If we can say, for example, that we just want someone who has this role here that we just created. Let's copy the name again. Only users who have the TB vehicles role will be able to see our module. So let's use the role here. Link type. It will be a list of records. What is the table? Let's select our table name here to use it there. So it will be a list of records, the table, or you can type vehicle, yeah. Vehicle table, and that's it. Let's click submit. Okay, so we have auto insurance and vehicle maintenance inside the application menu auto insurance. Let's refresh our instance here to see how it works. So now when we click in all, we can type auto insurance, and inside the auto insurance, we have vehicle maintenance, that which is our module, and it will redirect our admin to the vehicles table, right? Yeah, did you get it?
Yeah, just following, and then I'll need to double check like part of the video, all steps. But I'm following like every part separately, and then I'll just get that.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, if we let's impersonate a user here. We have as admin, we have this impersonate user. It's like, for example, let's speak about tutor impersonate user. It's like we are providing a user credentials, like a username and password and login within the platform. So now we are about tutor. Now about tutor is using the platform. Imagine that a user logged in a production instance, and about tutor, since he is not in our vehicles table admin group, if he tries to find it here, like auto, you see auto insurance, he
Auto
can't see
insurance,
anything.
because
There
this
is no
guy doesn't
results.
have like the visibility, right?
Exactly. They
Yeah.
don't have the first layer, the first security layer, which is the visibility. And even if he types the table name here, dot list, he won't be able to read the records because they don't have the access control lists, as you mentioned, ACLs. The ACLs,
I got the difference. Very good. Nice.
yeah. So for example, let's end the impersonation. And now let's put about tutor in our user group. So let's go within our groups. Auto insurance vehicle admin. Now let's go in group members tab, edit. About tutor will be a member now. Let's save it. Okay, so now Abel Tutor is a member of our auto insurance vehicle admin group, and as a consequence, now he has the role,
You
the B
automatically
vehicle.
receive the role.
Yes, yes. If we go to Abel Tutor's profile now, we can edit the user profile, And then we can take a look at the roles, and we can see that the role is here, right? And it is active. Yeah. So now let's impersonate Abel Tutor again. So now we are Abel Tutor logged in our instance. And if he types auto insurance, yeah, auto insurance,
he will be able to see.
yeah, he will be able to see. He can create a new record
And
because
even check the information from Mazda and so on.
yes, he can create new
Nice.
records. He can edit the existing records. Mazda updated. And he can even delete records. So if he chooses, for example, Ferrari, and he clicks delete, yeah, delete this record, delete. And that's it. The record does not exist anymore. Mm-hmm. So let's send impersonation. And we can say that create admin
Also done,
group.
right?
Done.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, do you have any doubts or comments? This is the list of activities for this episode part 2. And
For now, I would need to double check and watch the video, the sequence of activities. Not exactly the complexity, but the sequence, like a high number of like activities, like a lot of simple details, and that I need to be more aware, like familiar with, you know?
yes, yes. We talked about a small number of components, but a lot of concepts involved, right?
Yeah.
This part of security, access controls, and roles, it is very important. So it demands, it requires practice to understand how they are connected. But
Like
yeah,
checking
hope
specific tables, checking specific rows, like um, permissions to write, create, draw, like that kind of things, and where to check that exactly, and remember and memorize all of them by heart. I think this kind of exercise is nice. That's the challenge. I mean, you know, but the concept, in fact, I think is really good, is really clear. But I would watch it again in order to confirm and deep dive talking about this concept and where to find them and what sequence you followed in order to implement them, and well, points like that. I think it's really good. Thank you for sharing, Mr.
okay.
Carlos.
Thank you again. See you in the next video. Bye.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye bye. Good night.